Paul Purdue, and I'm the infrastructure nerd.
And I'm Mary Jo Boyd, a legal technologist. You know, there are a lot of times that we want to limit access to certain areas of the software for certain users.
Like lawyers, for instance. We want them in tabs to enter their time, but probably don't want them doing much else.
That's true. And there's also other areas that we may want to lock certain users out of so that they're not into certain things that they shouldn't be.
So how do we do that?
Well, we have something called access profiles.
Can you show us how to set those up?
Sure. So in our programs, we have the ability to lock down certain features, program by program, function by function, and user by user, to allow these different things that we want people to be able to do, but to also restrict other things that we don't want them to do. So to do that, we're going to go into system configuration, and underneath this little lock, this is our access profiles. Now we can create as many access profiles as we want and then assign the profile to a specific user, and that user will then inherit those rights that we've set up for them. So we can have groups of users, we can have individual users. There's all kinds of different ways to set up access profiles. Typically, I will see a firm that might have an attorney profile, they may have a staff profile, they may have a bookkeeping profile, and they may have different levels to those different areas. There could be a staff 1 and a staff 2 and a staff 3, and maybe a staff 2 has all of the rights that staff 1 has, but they can do maybe 1 or 2 more things. And same thing with a staff level 3. They may be able to do everything that a staff level 2 can do with a few more rights that they can do. So it's something that you can evolve and change and add to at any time to give a user a little more or a little less access. So to set them up, we're going to go underneath the little lock here in system configuration. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to close a few of these windows. There we go. And look at what we have. So if I do the drop down next to my access profiles, I've set up a few in here already. I've got some AP, GLS, and trust access. I have just some billing access. We've also got Tabs3 data entry. We've got some limited PracticeMaster usage, PracticeMaster only, supervisor access. So you can see we can name these things different things based on what we want the user that it's assigned to be able to do. So first off, I'm going to look at our billing. So here under my billing, I'm saying that the billing category has some rights to this back office part. Now, most of the time, the back office is in system config. I call this where we're going to set up our users and our passwords and things like that. And generally, if I have a certain, regular user, I don't want them back here. I don't want them to be able to get into system configuration, mess with user settings, or be able to mess with these access profiles or different things like that. So I tend to usually restrict this for users, like the general users that we have out there. So for this one, this is a billing person. So this may be like a billing admin or somebody like that. We're saying that they can come into the user configuration. They can set up some different things for the user. They can set up groups. They can even set up Tabs3. Well, in this case, it's not checked, but this is one of the things that we could do is restrict rights to the Tabs3 access and settings. We also have some options of whether or not they're able to log off users, get into firm information, check software updates, things like that, and whether or not they're allowed to back up or restore data files. When we start getting into the regular programs for Tabs, PracticeMaster, General Ledger, Trust, and AP, we have a whole different group of things that we can restrict. So we have different areas first off. So we first start off with our client information. And underneath client information, we have a whole series of functions that they are allowed or not allowed to do. So within the client information section, we can browse, add, change, or delete clients. We can browse, edit client notes, and so on. And as I go down the list here, there's several different things that I can say yes or no to simply by clicking it. If I want to allow deletion of contacts, I can just double click it and change it to yes, or I could click allow for the selected function. So I'm highlighted on one, I can allow that function. If I want to allow all functions in the Tabs3 client information section, I can just click the allow all functions. If I want to say they can do everything in Tabs in all of these different sections and all of the different functions, I can allow the entire system. Now, when I allow the entire system, I'm only allowing it for the tab I'm talking about, I'm clicked on. I'm not allowing PracticeMaster GL Trust and AP when I click that. I'm only allowing the tabs, all of the functions and tabs. So that's what these selected and all an entire system access and allow and disallow does. So let's go to another section, fee, cost, and payment. This is all the sections and functions that deal with fees and costs and whether or not they're allowed or yes or no for that area. Timekeeper functions, category, all of those. There's a whole bunch of different editing timekeepers and things like that. Billing frequencies, we have all kinds of different things in here, whether or not they're allowed or not allowed to do anything. Statement prep, there's several different things there. So you can see under each one of these sections, we have a lot of functions within there. And we can get very granular on they can do this report, but not this one. They can see this, but not that. They can add, but not delete. They can change, but not delete. Things like that. So this can be very helpful when you're thinking about a group of users and what they can and can't do. When we get over to PracticeMaster, we have the same kind of a thing. We have file information and all of the things under file information that they can do. All the things under the timer and the form designer, calendar, all the way down here. Each one of these sections, again, has multiple functions that we can say yes or no to. General ledger. In this case, general ledger, sometimes we don't want users in our books. We want to lock that entire system out. So we can say disallow the entire general ledger, disallow the entire trust, disallow the entire AP. If they're not in that accounts payable or general ledger section, your accounting side, they don't need to be in there. We can just go ahead and disallow that entire system and only allow access for the people that need it. So this is where you control all of those things right here. Now let's create a new one. So if I say a new, I'm not going to save my changes there. We're just going to create a brand new access ID. So I'm just going to call this one Staff 1. Hit my tab key. We're going to name it Staff 1. And when I hit new, it's like I have a complete blank slate. I can come in and start from scratch and I can select the things. Yes, they can do backup files, but they can't do anything else in system config. Yes, they can do certain things here in tabs, and I would go in and say yes or no and so on to all the different functions that I want. Same thing in PracticeMaster, same thing in GL Trust and AP, and then I would go ahead and I would save that. Now I have an access profile of Staff 1, and any user that needs to use that Staff 1 profile, I would then just go under the user ID, the little license here, choose the user. So we're going to say that Jennifer is now going to be a Staff 1. So I would just scroll down here at the bottom, and instead of a supervisor, we will go ahead and make her a Staff 1. When I save that, Jen will then inherit those settings once she logs out of the system and logs back in. So she's going to maintain her supervisor access until she actually logs out and she logs back into the program. Once she does that, she's going to pick up this new user profile. So make sure if you reassign a new access profile to a user that you have them go ahead and log out and log back in. Otherwise, they're going until they log out, they're going to still have and maintain those same accesses they had prior. So I'm not going to really change her for right now. But I do want to tell you now, let's say that I have that staff level 1 set up, and now I have another staff member that can do all the things that Jen could do, but I want to also give her rights to do maybe 1 or 2 other reports that maybe I don't want Jen to be able to do. Or maybe I want her to get into AP or trust a little bit to see some things, but I don't want her to change them, but I don't want it to be the same as the staff 1. Well, rather than click new and recreate the entire profile from scratch, I can just bring up the staff 1, and I had a space in there, so let me get out of that one. So let me get that staff 1 up on the screen. And as long as I have staff 1 up here, and I simply highlight and rename this to what I want it to be, so I'm going to just name this one staff 2, and hit my tab key on my keyboard. Now I've got a new profile that inherits all of the same settings and permissions that I had for staff level 1, but I've now got those set in here for staff level 2. So I'm going to name that one staff 2. You can see I've still got my backup files. I still have a few of the things that I had allowed or not allowed on client information. And now maybe I could go back in and say, well, yeah, she can also do, a certain detail whip report, or she could also run draft statements. Things like that. but I still have everything I had from one, just adding in a few things. Now I could do that in reverse. I could also take a staff level one and take away things for another user. Maybe I've got a file clerk that comes in, and yes, I want them to be a staff one, but I don't want them to even be able to, delete or change anything, or whatever that would be. So you can go ahead and change all kinds of different things very simply by coming in to Access Profiles, creating as many of these as you need to, and then assigning them out. Now, one thing I will tell you is that there is a manager profile that comes in the program. It's built in. And if it's not even a profile here that we can change, because if someone has the right over here under our users to be a manager, they have all rights to all programs. There's no need to even set it up. If someone is a manager, they have all rights to all programs. There's no changing that access level. If they are a manager, that's what they have. If you don't want them to have full access, it's necessary then to go ahead and create a new access profile, giving them maybe everything a manager would have, allowing all systems, and then taking away the things that they're not allowed to do. So keep that in mind. If you do have somebody that does get full access, but you don't want them to have complete access to everything, you could create another access profile allowing that and then taking away just what they are not allowed to do. One other thing that I wanted to show you is that there is a report that will give you an access profile list. So you can come in and you can add the individual systems, you can pick that, or you can say you want all of the systems, whatever you would like there. We can get into detail or summary, and we can print out all of the different access profiles that are out here. And I'm going to just go ahead and select something here to preview it so you can get that access profile list and what's allowed and not allowed per access profile. So here's the APGL profile. There's all of the different software access that's allowed, the tabs. If I go down, there's nice little charts in here, so that'll tell you what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. Here is the PracticeMaster rights for that group, and so on. So you're able to go in and actually see all of the things that you've checked in there, so you know what rights that each access profile has. Now there is one other report, the user list, that you also can print the user's access profile, so which users are assigned to the access profile that you've created. So that's something that is also very helpful for you to do. So hopefully that'll get you that list that you need. You'll know who's assigned to what and what those access profiles currently have as their options, rather than go through each one and click and pick and choose to see what is allowed and what's not allowed. So there you have it, a way to secure your system to allow users to only access what you want them to use.
And that's just one more way that we can help you worry less
and practice more.